Hi, grade 6 students. How are you today? I hope you're doing great. And this is me again, Teacher Ann, your science teacher. And we are now in unit number 3, lesson number 1. And in this unit, we will be learning about electricity. Again, in this entire lesson, we will be talking about electricity. How does it work? And how important electricity in our daily life. Let's define electricity. Electricity. Why is it? Electricity is very vital in our lives today. Electricity class is the movement of electric charge in an object. Again, electricity is the movement of electric charge in an object. Okay, try to remember this phrase, movement in the object. Alright, let me ask you, is that electricity is very important in your lives today? Alright, as we know that electricity is vital to our civilization world nowadays. Every day we use electricity. Okay, we use electricity to charge our mobile phones. We use electricity to store our foods. We use electricity to use our aircon. We use electricity to charge our phones as a mode of our communication. So that's why electricity is very important nowadays. So, car, train, and plane can only run through electricity. It means electricity is very vital in terms of transportation. So, the nature of matter. But before going there, let's talk about matter first. So, to understand it, we first need to know about the nature of matter. If you can still remember, in the first class we talk about matter. As we all know that all matter is made up of very small particles, which is the atom. So, this is an atom that consists of 3 types of smaller particles, which means this center, this is what we call the nucleus, the center part of the atom. And this nucleus is composed of a positively charged, which is our protons, and the neutral charge, which is the neutrons. And orbiting the nucleus, this one, is the electrons, which is the negatively charged of the atom. Again, negatively charged is what we call the electrons. Positively charged, which is the protons. And we have the neutral charge, which is the neutron. And so normally, the electrons and protons in an atom's balance out, okay? It should be, the protons and the electrons should be balanced. Why most matter you came across is electrically neutral. So meaning if the electrons and protons are balanced, meaning the atoms is in neutral condition. If the atom is in neutral, the number of the protons and electrons, meaning they are the same. Okay, try to look at this one. Okay, electrons, which is more lighter than the protons, can easily move. So in that movement of electrons is what we called the electric current. Alright, so what is static electricity? We will know this later on our next slides. What is static electricity? So it can strike without any warning at any moment. You may be walking at the carpet and suddenly it happened. To understand it, let's talk about static electricity. Again, you may be walking in this carpet and going in the doorknob and suddenly you have the electric shock. So, to understand this one, let's talk about the static electricity. So try to look at this picture. Alright, so when we say static electricity is the force occurs because of an imbalance between the electric charges in an object. Again, a force occurs because of an imbalance between electric charges in an object. Okay, while the one with one electrons accumulate negative charge, this is called the charge imbalance. That's why static electricity happen. Again, if there is an imbalance, charge imbalance, so there would be a static electricity. Okay. We all know that electrons are very tiny and almost insignificant in mass. Again, electrons is the negatively charge of an atom. Okay, so example, by rubbing or friction can loosen the bond of electrons. So there's no enough energy to leave their atoms and attach to others. Meaning to say, the first object is left with more protons and electrons and become positively charged. That's why there is a result. Okay, this one. Okay, the hair and the balloon. Okay, when you put friction or when you rub the balloon in your hair, so it will happen. Alright, that is static electricity. So let's have this one. Static electricity is happen when, example, you are shuffling your feet off the nice and soft carpet. You build a positively charged because the negatively charged with the electrons will be trapped up or being lost in the carpet, as what you see in this example. So meaning to say, the charge imbalance is being created between you and the carpet. If you can still remember that atoms should be balanced. So if the atoms is balanced, meaning to say the electrons and the protons are in the same number. But this example is the moment you rub your feet on the carpet, so the electrons was being released. So and only positively or the neutrons will remain in you. That's why if you touch a metal object, which is the doorknob, you get zap, or we recognize some sudden spark. Okay, that is the reason why. So now let's have this one, the electric charge and the electric force. So when we say electric charge, it is the physical property of a motor that causes it to experience a force when placed in an electromagnetic field. So electric charge, it can be positive or negatively charged. So when the object has the electric charge, so meaning to say it can be attract or repel on each other. So electric force depends on the type of the electric charge given. So next we have electric force. When we say electric force, it's a force exerted by two charged objects. So the charges or the electric charges, it can be positively or negatively charged, okay? So meaning that two unlike charges will exert a force that attract each other. Unlike meaning it's negative and positive, it will attract. But if the same charges like negative, negative, it will repel. So electric charge. What are the different kinds of electric charge? Again, there are two types of electric charge. As I said a while ago, it can be a negative charge or a positively charged. So electric charge is an electric property of a motor that creates electric and magnetic forces and interactions. Again, electric charge has two types. It can be negative charge or positively charged. Okay, we have electrical force. Electrical force is a force acting on an object without touching. So it's their initial reaction without touching the object. So there are two characteristics. So it can be attract or repel. That is the two characteristics of electrical force. Again, attract or it can repel. So if this one is positive and negative, so meaning the two objects will attract. And if the charge of the object is the same, positive and positive, nor negative or negative, so it will repel. So they will not attract to each other. So like for example, in this picture, the boy wrapped the balloon on his hair. And now, there is a force of attraction between them. Normally, a balloon and a hair would not attract each other. So what happened to this? So what happened to each to produce this force? Okay, how about this one? These two balloons repel. Why? These two balloons are repelling each other. How was this force of repulsion produced? So we have this one, the balloon, negative charge, and we have negative charge. So what happened to these two balloons? So how was this force of repulsion produced? So again, suppose that after this balloon is rubbed against the boy's hair, so it is held against the wall. So it will be attracted to the wall and stick to it. So example, after rubbing this balloon on your hair, and then if you will stick it on the wall, it will stick. Because negative charges on the balloon attract the positive charges on the wall. Okay, so that is the reason why. Why is it that the balloon will stick to the wall? So transferring electric charge. So when rubbing a balloon on your hair, electrons are attracted to the balloons and transfer. So the balloon is left with excess electrons, which is the negative charge. Again, the balloon will having the negative charge, and the hair is left with an equal excess of the protons, which is the negatively charged. Let's have this one, electric charge. So again, there are two types of charge. We have the positive and the negative charge. So that is electric charge. Two types of electric charge. We have the negative and we have the positive. Okay, and the initial reaction or the electric force, we have to repel or to attract. Okay, like for example, in our example for our previous slides, so like the two balloons, if the objects is or having the positive and positive, meaning they will repel. If negative and negative, they will repel. So like for example, the two balloons, so they repel to each other. And for the next example is we have the balloon and we have the hair. So that opposite charges attracts. Again, if it's because the hair is positive and the balloon is a negative charge, so that's why they attract to each other. So that's why the hair will go with the balloon if you rub it in your head, because it's not a magic, but it's called science. So that means it's called attraction, right? So positive and negative. So like for example, the balloons and the hair. So I want you to see this video next. It's about static electricity. It's more examples. Okay, again, it's not a magic, but it's what we call science. This would be your worksheet for today. For the first part of your worksheet, I want you to label the parts of an atom. Label each part of an atom. So the first is number 1. What do you call this one? This one, center of an atom. That is number 1. Number 2, what do you call this one? The neutral charge. Number 3, we have the positively charged. And for number 4, the negatively charged. So we have proton, we have neutron, we have nucleus, and we have electron. So you will have to choose the correct answer here on the boxes. For the next part is, you have also the choices here. We have static electricity, we have positive, repel, negative, and we have attract. So for number 6 and number 7, you have 2 answers. What are the types of electric charge? What are the types of electric charge? And for number 8 and 9, what are the characteristics of electric force? What is the characteristic of an electric force? And for the last number, is the force occurs because of an imbalance between electric charges in an object. So that's why when you are walking on, like we have examples a while ago, like when you are dragging your feet on the carpet, then suddenly if you touch a metal, there's a spark. So what do you call that one? What do you call that initial reaction when you touch the metal part of the doorknob? So the force that occurs because of an imbalance between the electric charges in an object. So this is the end of our class for today, and I hope you learn something about electricity. So if you're done answering, you can send your answer on our group chat or you can send me personally so I can chat. Thank you.